Hey, this is Eddy Dacius. We here with another episode. We have a wonderful guest. She is a first an aspiring entrepreneur. She's alum from Boston Public School, and I think she has a lot to say about herself. So instead of me talking, let's having Christina with us today. Christina, how are you today?
I am good. I am blessed. I am happy and just really fortunate to be in conversations with you to talk to me about myself. I'm a little bit nervous, not going to lie. But yeah, that is a bit about me. So I am a first generation Haitian American community organizer from Boston.
Oh wow.
I am an aspiring entrepreneur, like you said. So I'm thinking about going to become an entrepreneur and just stepping out on faith. And I am an alum of Boston Public Schools,
Mm-hmm.
all the way from elementary all the way to high school. So I'm
Wow.
really, really proud of that. And my background ranges from education, youth development, now community engagement, in healthcare, and all that aspects. But behind like those big titles, I am a daughter, a sister, an auntie,
Ooh.
and just a friend, and like a solid support to other people. And I like to explore life through different creative meanings, through different mediums I met.
Okay.
Um, just love to explore life and what life has to offer. But I think in terms of this podcast about purpose, really trying to see what is my purpose on this earth, why
Yeah.
am I here, what are the gifts that God gave me, that I am I utilizing it or am I not utilizing it?
Wow. You,
Uh,
you, you know what you just did? You went so deep. So definitely what I'm expecting. But one thing I like to do is to definitely give our audience a glimpse of our special guest, but also get us to start this podcast with our intro. And we'll be back with Christina.
Welcome to the Divine Purpose Podcast, where we transport you along one of the more dynamic journeys of life. Have you ever been curious to know what it takes to become a successful leader? Or about knowing the secrets of life through the Bible? How about engaging in conversation where no topics are off limits? We will take you to new levels with guests who can help you grasp the importance of your calling. Now, here's your host, Eddy Dacius, founder of Dacius Facilities Management.
Hey, we're back with Eddy Dacius with a new episode. We have a wonderful guest. Like she started to tell us about herself. So, Christina, so if you had to describe yourself in like a few sentences, what would you tell me today in our audience?
I will say that Christina is a young woman, despite what life have thrown at her, is taking her reins back, not only to reclaim my crown, but to also understand why am I on this earth,
Mm,
but to also a person who has a big heart, who love, who love to live and laugh. And despite the challenges, like I said, that life has thrown, which I will get into deeper, I am still holding my head up. I am still hopeful. Um, I am still in the presence of coming into my being, and
mm,
accepting myself, because I'll get into more, but I am very critical, but also used to think of myself as not worthy. And now I'm just stepping into a space where I know that not only I am worthy, but I am also aligning my worth with my actions and things that I do. And so that is a bit about me in a nutshell.
So you know what we like to say? We like to say embrace your calling in this podcast, because there's a process to get to that phase where you say, "Oh, you've been fighting all your life, and then you realize everything you do doesn't work." And then you say, "Oh, let me just go with the flow. This is who I am," and then things started to be better. So can you take us to that journey? When did you realize, oh, this is me? All right, let me go with it.
I had to be very honest. Not I can't be. But I feel like I'm very early on into that process. And
Okay.
I know many people are like, oh, I know this is my purpose. This was my calling. For me, I've always known, but now it's the time I've starting to step into it and accept it. But I think very young, I struggle with body image. I struggle with mental health. I struggle with accepting myself,
Yeah.
that I'm beautiful, or that I am worthy. And so that I think it's not until this year. And so I think this is the time that I think it's early last year and this year I've been going through a lot of transitions.
Okay.
Includes with relationship, with friendship, with just different aspects. I'm really analyzing my being as to, is this Christina? Where do I want to go? And if I really want to go to this place, what are the things that are not aligning?
Mm.
And it really has been a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be I have cried a lot of nights. I have felt lonely. I have felt like nobody is here for me. But I think God has a way of having the support system that I do have now, and through
Yeah.
my deepest, darkest moments of them really sustaining me. I'm just thank you, God, for having certain people in my life and sending certain people in my life. He has a funny way of sending certain people in my life,
Yeah.
not only for me to learn a lesson, but for them to add value to my life. So I'll stop right there.
So let's talk about. Can you share I don't want to say a number, but the most challenging event in your life?
Hmm.
And how did they challenge you?
Yeah. I would say oh my God. So I think it's just different, many different things.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to try to make sure that I capture it all, but not say too much, because I'm also kind of private
Okay.
and also going through certain things and healing through that.
Okay.
So I would say definitely moving to America. I was actually born here in New Jersey, and then my mom sent me to Haiti for
Okay.
8 years to live with my aunts, my aunt and my family in Haiti.
Okay.
And so there was my foundation into my love for my culture, my faith, and going to church, which is another thing. And just really knowing okay, why did that happen? Because I was supposed to, I was born here, I was supposed
I
to live
got you.
here, and all of a sudden I got shipped, kind
Yeah.
of, sort of. That's what some of my family members will say, to Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
But then that was my foundation to really who I am. And my Creole is not the best right now, but I'm Haitian, something, not going, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
And I think coming
I like
to
to hear that too.
yeah, and I think coming to America, I was just wow, it's a culture shock. Going to school, I was just being called the African booty scratcher or different names and being bullied. And I was just wow. There was one instance where I cried and I was just why is this happening to me? And through other stuff that were happening at home, very difficult stuff that a young woman shouldn't go through, especially being having her body kind of being violated. And so for me, it was, I found refuge in poetry. I found refuge
Wow.
in church, and nobody really knew what was going on. And I just told myself that if I have a voice, I'm going to use that to the best of my ability, and just write down my thoughts. And that's how I kind of started with poetry, with writing and expressing myself. And through that, I also, another like biggest challenge is I lost my dad when I was really young. And my whole thing was, when I'm 18 or when I'm older, I will be able to talk with him. And I am daddy's little girl. Like, he made it known. And for me, losing that father figure in my life really have created an impact in terms of later trying to seek attention from things that were not of that, and that seem as it was love, but it was not. And I'm starting to know that that is not. And for me, losing my dad also made me realize that life is short. You have to take advantage of every day and making sure that life is not guaranteed within an instant that you could turn. And I think it made me grew up very fast. I don't think I really had a childhood, just because it was one thing after another, after another, after another. That I'm just like, I'm just trying to survive. And definitely my relationship with my mother, it's something that's really gotten to the point where I had to step away, or I have stepped away from living in the same environment, because that environment was not conducive to my mental health or to who I really wanted to be, or who I want to be later on. And I think in all that aspect of me trying to, with everything that life is throwing at me, that I'm just like, okay, what's next? What can I, and I am realizing that I'm in control of my own life. And I can't really blame other people. And I think I was for so many years, I was like, I'm blaming. Like, this is who I am. And then now I'm in a space, I'm like, okay, this is not who I am for now, but what can I change? What can I control? Who do I allow in my space? Who do I not give energy to? And how can I speak my truth? Being respectful at the same time, but standing on my ground, saying like, you know what, this is not conducive to me in my stuff, in my own health. And I know now that I only have myself until the end. And I stress that to myself, keep choosing you. Even though when it seems hard, keep choosing you. And so that is where I am with all these challenges. It still are things that I'm dealing with, going through therapy, going through like trying to find healthy ways and healthy boundaries to really become like, and say, this is the woman that I've always dreamed of, and that the little girl inside of me always dreamed of. So
and thank you for sharing. This was very, very deep, and we appreciate it. So let me go to this, if you allow me. You said that you feel like you didn't have a childhood, but if you looking back, can you take any favorite memory if you have?
Yes.
Okay, that would be great. So
my childhood growing up in Haiti, like, you cannot be that. And
but by the way, a lot of guests I had, they talking about the childhood is related to Haiti too. So go ahead.
There's nothing like it. And now I'm like, you know what? When I do have children, maybe I'll send them a summer or two in Haiti just to explore, because there's nothing like being in Haiti. I think those are my favorite. And thinking about like summer, drinking like coconut water. My mom, she's from like the Latibonite. My dad is from like Cabale, and so kind of like the countryside. So like going to the countryside and away from the city, seeing past cousins. And another thing is I have like a big family, and they'll be like, oh, this is your cousin. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's good to know. But definitely,
Do you ever feel like the whole country is your cousin? Like that's
yes, and it's like, okay, and like there's this meme that goes where when you enter into like a Haitian event, you have to,
yeah.
well, in the past, I don't know about COVID now, you have to say hi or vote everybody.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, hi, that's it. But I feel like, and I think it speaks to our culture though. Like,
Yes.
we are very proud people, but we're also welcoming as
Welcoming.
well. Very, like, we're very welcoming and very want to welcome everybody, and that's the way that we are. And so I would say definitely my childhood in Haiti. If I had to pick a favorite, like one memory that stood out, I think all of them just now clustered into my mind. And it's unless I go back and I'm like, oh, I remember doing this as a child. But probably it would be because my late granddad, he loved coffee. And
Yo,
I
morning
remember,
coffee. No, morning coffee.
yes, and I'm now not a coffee drinker, more of a tea drinker. But when
Okay.
I do have Haitian coffee, I will dip the bread in it.
Do you put milk in it?
No, actually, I used to put milk, but now I'm just like, I like it black.
You know what's funny? This is a culture folk for me because in Haiti we put a lot of sugar in the coffee, right? But here people drink it black. Now, but but I kind of relate to what you're saying because did you ever drink akasa?
Yes, I could talk about food any day, and that's another thing. I'm a food. There was the neighborhood that I lived in. There was this lady. I think she sold the best akasa, and through this day, I still haven't had like really good akasa. Over here, they're like, oh, akasa. I'm like, it's not the same. It is not the same.
You're right. You're definitely right because I still compare it. I only had one, but the guy I went to Florida, but the guy is from New York, and then we went to a wedding, and he put akasa to sell, and his akasa was very good. I'm not gonna lie, compared to the one I've been trying to compare, like trying to taste. But anyways, here's kind of make the list. Definitely. Okay. So let's go to this. What is your most which of your accomplishment you are the proudest?
Ooh. I will divide it into work and then personally. For work, currently I in my supervisory lounge and a part of the team, the community engagement team, launched a website that is dedicated to Black cancer patient loved ones to share their story into their diagnosis and how did they feel. And I came kind of early into the project. I was hired early into the project, but to see the magnitude of the project and where it's going to take because of more things, more relationships that we're building, especially with local organization, that is one of my proudest moments currently because we know that when you're building something from the ground up, people don't really see the amount of hours or the amount of dedication. And even for my
I was saying the commitment behind it.
Yes, the commitment behind it. And it's a lot of hours. It's a lot of late nights and early mornings. And even then, in going to work, my role now, I wasn't the best writer. I was not the most confident. I'm still working on my confidence, but it got to the point where my supervisor was like, you need help with your writing. I think I'm a great writer, but I had that imposter syndrome. And it's like, Christina, just push yourself. Like, you know what you're saying. Just have your personality shown through email, and just being authentic. That will get you into a lot of place, and the people will recognize you right off the bat if you're being fake or if you're not authentically yourself. And I think from that point on, it kind of shifts in the way the project was going, because I was able to connect more and put myself out there more. And although we were getting rejections right and there, I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. The name is Amp Black Voices. I could put that information down there.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah, that's for work. Personally, I would say how I redid. I'm very creative, and being able to create my own oasis to what it is now.
okay.
I really am proud of myself, because I never used to hold a journal before, but now I'm like, okay, let me get this done. Or I'll look on Pinterest to see what can I do to just reshape certain things. And I think that also speaks to the fact of who I am outside of work or in work. I'm always looking ways to make things better, creatively, and to be in a space where it just exudes love, like positivity and light. So I will say those two things. I'm really
So let's switch on your professional side.
yes.
So what was your dream job in high school and college and now? If they're the same, great, but I feel like people kind of change to different aspiration. Can
Yes.
you tell us what was your dream job in high school, college?
Before high school, I used to tell my cousin when I grew up, I wanted to be like a pastor or chef or something. Clearly, that's not happening. But in high school later, I'm like, I think I want to be a teacher. And somewhere around the line of Africana studies, because I wrote my high school essay on the stigma I have with me having thin hair. And how, like, my family, they had thick hair, and how I kind of felt different, but how that ties into my passion for Afro-Caribbean history and all that it's been. And so I think in my high school, when I wrote my my college essay, I wanted to do something around Africana studies, a teacher, something around education. College happened, and I got involved with the Black Student Union on campus. And there, coming from Boston Public Schools, which was predominantly Black, brown students, to now a predominantly white institution, I was like, oh, this is different. And I was just like, I need to find a space where not only I can be myself, but meet people around me and create events. And I started there as a secretary and worked my way up to president and revitalized the club. But then it was a lot that went behind the scene, so much so that it took a toll on my mental health, and I didn't really talk about it. And it's not until later I realized, I'm like, oh, this needs to be talked about, because a lot of other like past colleagues of mine, students, were going through the same thing, and it was a consistent theme. And so much so, after I graduated, I think in 2020, I kind of shared publicly as to what some of the things that were going on that I was not happy with. But to cut it short, through that experience, I realized that social justice and equity, there are some that say that they're about it, and there are some that are not. And it's very important that if I'm calling you an ally, or if you want to truly change the way that there's inequities in this world, there has to be power relinquished to certain people, and there has to be reconciliation, but also recognizing as to what you're doing is sometimes it's not empowering people, but it's actually continuing the same systematic of oppression and equity. And so with all that happened, I was like, I want to become a director for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
That was my thing. And when I graduated, I had like a goal, a 3, 5, 10-year plan, and that was one of the roles.
Okay.
And another goal was for me to earn my master's and do these things, which I did within those allotted time. But that changed. I don't think I want to be a diversity advocate, so much so because how I'm living and what I'm living, I don't need to really be an advocate. I am already that, and show that through examples by doing good to others and making sure that I speak power. And if there's something wrong, to
Yeah.
say, I think we need to change that. I think a lot of people don't like being called out on certain in accountability,
Yeah.
but there is a way of, and I think right now I'm framing it as calling in and saying, okay, maybe they have a different perspective than I am, and I don't get myself really riled up into the way of expensing my mental health or my capacity to the point where I'm not functioning. And I am very particular in the ways that I show up in real life for others and for equity. And so right now, I think I am doing somewhat in the aspects of what I've always wanted to do. It kind of, community engagement ties education,
Yep.
it ties healthcare, it ties everything well together. And I think the thing that really makes me like get up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to do this, is turning an idea into something that people can see.
Yeah.
And I think it was my second year, I was in AmeriCorps. So what happened was, after college, I have a mentor. Her name is Stephanie, and it's not even my mentor anymore. She's my big sister, and I'm claiming it. Although we are not blood related, but through the things that we went through in life together, she saw something in me. She met me in high school, and she was doing the AmeriCorps program.
Yeah.
And we started bonding because I'm Haitian American. She's Haitian American. She knows what's going on. She showed up to my baptism when I was baptizing. She's that type of like support system.
Okay.
And when it came to it, she's like, Christina, what are you doing with your life? You're just working. I was just working after college. And she's like, you need to like really get it together. Just like, come on. And so what happened was, she had a conversation with me. She's like, why don't you apply or become an AmeriCorps member? And there you will find what you do. Like, you find your skills, you and serve back your community. I was like, okay. And I went back. It was really good that I did, because I got to serve back in my high school that I went to, but also got connected into Freedom House, a nonprofit organization in Boston that is dedicated to youth support and social justice. And I say that to say, because it was in my second year that I really tapped into kind of say like my purpose and my skills, because before I officially became their fellow, I went into a viewing where they had like 4 documentaries talking about mental health, for immigration, education, and another in violence, safety and violence, I think. And those documentaries was put and edited and shot by the youth. And I was like, wow, this is really impressive. And I thought to myself, is there anything that I could do to turn that around? And so when it came time to it, I turned those documentaries into topics where, for the Martin Luther King Day of Service, where everyone have like different conferences, different breakout sessions where they talked about those issues, what is going on in the community, and what can we as a community talk about that, but also be about what we say we're about. And so it really tapped into my love for event planning, turning ideas into actualizing them. And another thing that happened was I created like a professional networking women event there, because I saw a lot of theme with young women about self-esteem, like body, and similar issues that I went through when I was younger. And I was just like, there is a lot of women that worked at Freedom House that are young women can look up to but connect to. And I was just like, let me talk to my supervisor. And there, another mentor of mine, Miss Charmaine Author, who's currently the CEO, and she was just like, okay, let's do that. And so I say all this to say, through everything that happened, I'm very blessed to see, and privileged in a way, to have my ideas turn into something that impacts and create impact for others. And even if it touched one person, that is okay with me. And so that's where I am. I don't know where that is going to take me. Eventually, I've always said I wanted to earn my PhD, but we'll see how that goes. The student loans is
it's piling.
It's piling up, but I just hope and pray that if there is a will, there's a way. So we'll see how that goes.
No, definitely, and thank you for going deeper into your accomplishment. And then because what I appreciate you said was that your vision turned into action. That's definitely a great thing, because that's like impacting people and then helping with change. So let's go with mental health, because this is a very important subject. So what was the moment when you realized, okay, I need help? What's the figure? The reason I ask is because your experience might help somebody identify where they are too. It's like I said, it's okay if you
Yes,
like
that's
I
okay.
said, all right.
I think I started very young.
Okay.
I didn't know what it was. And typically, in some Haitian household, it's taboo to talk about, like,
Oh yeah, you're right. Even at church too.
even in church. And I remember there was one time, I think in my testimony at church, I talked about depression. I thought it was just something that I could just be done, pray about it, that's it. No. I think through series, and especially in college, I had an interaction with someone, and I was like, whoa, this is not normal. And I went to the mental health office, but didn't feel comfortable, because I was just like, whoa, this is not, I didn't expect it to be like that. And I never went back. So I was just like, it is what it is. I think in 2017, I graduated in 2017. So after I graduated, I was in a relationship with someone. And then after I got out of that relationship, I experienced a lot of like hurt. I was crying. I didn't know what to do. And I don't remember the exact moment where I was like, you know what, I'm going to reach out to a therapist and talk to them. I went to a therapist, explained, kind of delve a little bit into like what happened, like from my life all the way till now. But I wasn't really about the work.
Okay.
And so much so that she was just like, I think you probably might need to get another therapist. And I was just like, okay, well, thank you. And then I went to another therapist, which I have now, and was just shopping around. And it's not until I've been with her for like 2-3 years.
Okay.
It's not until really now that I've really started opening up to her, because I'm like, there's so much to unpack. There's so much to unlearn. But what I'm realizing now is like, oh, okay, I have to hold myself accountable. And sometimes, like I said, oh, I'm going to put the blame on this person. But now I'm just like, okay, Christina, you can be toxic sometimes. You can be a better friend, or you could be a better person sometimes, and you didn't have to do that. And so with that being said, and I think it's funny because somebody recommended me when I was younger to possibly go to therapy. I was just like, what's that? I don't need it. But I think reshaping, and I'm really happy to see how therapy is being something that is starting to be talked about, but is starting to become the norm, and saying like, you know what, we went through so much that we need to unpack that. And so if anyone is listening to me, especially young women, it's never too late. It's never too late.
Wow.
Everything that is happening, make a call. If you don't know, like, there are resources out there to know, and talk to, like, and if you can't talk to anyone, for me, it came to the point where I think what really did it was I didn't want to become the person that I did not want to. I didn't want to become and I think what it was I looked at myself, I said, I don't want my children, or I don't want people around me when I get to a certain age to not be around me.
Okay.
Or not say, well, she's difficult, that's just her, let's not. And for me, it was really important that I do this for myself, because the little girl inside of me always wants to be not only a good energy, but also to be real and to be there for that. And I used to tell my sister, we're saying, like, we want to break generational curse. And I know sometimes that's like a very loaded word, but when you think about it, it's who you becoming, who you are is what people have shaped you. And so it's really good to have an inflection point to say, you know what, I'm going to try to do a different way. And so that is what I think did it for me. I don't want to grow old and just said I should have done, or I could have been better. I just want to be better. And it's going to be a lot of work, and I just want to have a good life.
No, definitely.
I want to have a good life, and I want.
And I think that's a good mindset, because this is already some positive, what can I say, seed you put in your life and in your future, because you want good things to happen to you, and that will come too. So what was one piece of advice you will give to someone who's just starting their career?
Advice, I have many, but I would say find the thing that makes you, even outside of work. And it's very easy, and I've always was someone that knew funny enough, I didn't like science, I didn't like math. Really, when I was growing up, and I knew I didn't really want to be in the healthcare, but I knew I wanted to do like social work, and I wanted to do that aspect, which kind of ties into kind of what I wanted to do. So know what you don't want. I would say know what you don't want, because when you don't want something, it's going to be so much harder to keep.
Wow.
And I guess that would be my advice. Know what you don't want and what you don't want to do, because that will steer you kind of in the right direction. And for me, I've always had little goals, or say like, you know what, I want to talk to this person, I want to talk to that person. But early on, I knew I didn't want to become a nurse, because I know that's the thing that
most Haitian,
want to be a nurse or engineering. And I told myself, I think I remember I told my mom early on, I'm like, if everybody is a doctor, everybody's an engineer and a nurse, what is left for the other role for me to be fulfilled? And I think that and I actually told my late aunt, who raised me, that this is kind of what I want to do, and I'm going to go for it. And yeah, so my advice is know what you don't want. And yes, passion is great, but also develop your skills. And it's okay to say that you don't know something. Not everybody knows, but find a mentor too that could help you, support you, and guide you along the way. You will need people. You can't do anything in life without people. So those will be my advice. Find out what you don't want, find a mentor.
That's great. Thank you, Christina. We appreciate it. We're gonna have a break now. So we have Divine Purpose Podcast with Eddy Dacius and our special guest, Christina. So we'll be back after this break.
What comes before making a smart decision? Choices. A smart choice is the best option, which is who we are. That's why our clients expect more from us and, in return, get more in everything we do. We understand the problem. That's why we thrive for excellence. We don't just create a winning culture. We aspire to be a smart choice, a voice for solutions. We believe in integrity, professionalism, and teamwork. Our passion is to bring results from our clients by working harder, smarter, and faster. As a team, we always deliver because we recognize your needs. Choosing smart influences us to be the best version of ourselves. That makes us different than other companies. It makes us confident in achieving our goals. It makes us who we are. And it makes us DFM, the smart choice.
Hey, we're back with Eddy Dacius with Divine Purpose Podcast. We have a special guest. Christina is here today. She's talking about a career passion. And we have her for a few more minutes, but we're gonna go deeper on hot topic. So hot topic, this is a segment where we have fun. It's a fun segment where we go into deep conversation, and we'll have Christina answer some questions for us today. Like we said, we back with hot topic. So hot topic for you, Christina. So you just mentioned that there is did you call it generational curse or?
Yes, generational curse.
How do you break it?
I don't know. I don't think I have the answer. And I think it really starts with really digging deep into some ugly things that you yourself do or certain like family members. Therapy, I am not a licensed therapist, so I don't know how to really into that. But from my own experience, is really being honest with yourself, really being honest. Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself? What are certain behavioral patterns that you're seeing that it needs to be addressed? And also stepping away from things that no longer serve you, but you're also are not serving that person or that like environment. And so I think it's just all starts with honesty, because not everybody's perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? But there are certain things when you confront and when you face head on, you can make it more like easier. You can make it more. And for me, like I said, I do not want some of the traumas and events that I went through to pass on to my children. And I know that it's going to take a lot of work, still going, and I still fail sometimes. I'm not going to lie, I'm still human, but it's being more intentional now. It's being more, having more awareness and saying like, oh, okay. And I know they talk a lot of, like my therapist and I would talk about a lot about boundaries and what does that look like and how do you, and I'm still working through it. So if I could be an echo, is I am a progress of that. Okay. I have not arrived. I don't think no one will arrive to where they are. But if they get 1 inch closer, I know every day is I have another chance to be better. And because I'm like, if I know better, I should do better. So.
Wow. Well said. But now, how can you identify it in terms of, okay, can you know somebody has it in terms of their family, like with current event that's happening? Is that a pattern? Is there a pattern you can identify?
Yes. For me specifically, yes, there are certain patterns I recognize, and sometimes because I'm a firecracker, sometimes there are certain things I would say and how I would say it will rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like I am kind. I hope people think I'm kind. But I felt like there were certain needs when I was younger that was not met. And so that I expressed that through anger or through something and then now I'm just like, let me say what I mean, or in a way that hopefully is respectful, because I'm still am learning through that, but still in a way where I am standing and not tilting myself or changing myself for someone. And so if I could be very honest, I'm not perfect. I'll have many, I have many failed, like relationships and friendships and people that were not aligning. And for me right now, I'm like, okay, what is an alignment for me? And I'm realizing what is an alignment for me will still love me to be my worst, will still love me in spite of. And so for me, it's really about making sure that I am true to myself. And it's also, energy, you can feel energy. If something don't feel right within my gut or my feeling, I'll sit on it. And I'm starting to learn more to just, you know what? Because I used to share a lot on like my Snapchat, social media. Now I'm just like, let me back up a little bit, not share too much. And now I'm learning the art of just standing still.
Okay.
And just sharing what I need to share, but not overshare. Yeah.
Wow, that was great. I think you did good. You did good in hot topic. Most people kind of avoid it, but usually they very kind in their response and sharing and give advice to other people. So my question will go this way, where I say, okay, we understand that we Haitian, we don't like help. I don't know if you acknowledge it. We don't like help, and we don't like to collaborate. What needs to be done?
I can't speak for all Haitian people, but I know, like within our alum, in our ways, like l'union fait la force, right?
Yes.
And so we're kind of contradictory in certain aspects. Saying like l'union fait la force, but when you see some of the things that are going and still going in Haiti, or even amongst Haitians that are living abroad, unity is not really our strongest forte. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to get done. That doesn't mean that we're still are not striving for like a more perfect. I would say that I don't know how to put it into words, but I definitely know we're humans. And sometimes humans will say something and do another. And I think I don't want to necessarily put it up to the youth or like the young Haitian Americans I think there needs to be a way for intergenerational, not even conversation, but I think it's also because of that sacredy mindset. If this person have it, then nobody else can have it, or that aspect. And we need to change that way. We need to change that thinking. And I think it always starts with self, you know?
You're right.
It will always start with yourself, how you treat others, what you do to others. And then eventually it will go down. But not to say, not even specifically Haiti, every country has, it's bad. And
you're right.
And I think Haiti is the one that like people like to put negative like image out there, but I also think as Haitian Americans, it's really sad to see how sometimes the country is not developed the way that we hope.
Oh, yes.
We all in my hope was always like, you know what, he's gonna come back. And I literally was having a conversation with Steph the other day, and she was just like, with all that's going on, I hope she's okay with me saying that. I think this is the first time that she has lost hope. In the way things are going.
It's not only her. I think a lot of Haitians feel this way. But I think, and I will take back what I said in terms of we kind of hypocrite. But when they said l'union fait la force, and I'm going back, this kind of spot in my mind where this was what got us to be independent. So the question for you now is like, is it we're not feeling the urgency to be to have the unity? That's why, because this happened when we had to fight for our freedom.
Yeah.
And then now everybody feel free. But do you think this can be the same where we really embody the union for la force because we are in the same page?
Yeah, I think it's I like how you put it, because when we were fighting for like one goal, which was to liberate Haiti, we were united. And I think it really has to come down is, what do we want Haiti to become? And I think it's that, I think when you have one goal to attain, you'll get there faster. And so that is something that when you mention it, I'm like, wow, this is opening my mind. So I don't want to speak on it too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know certain people will be like, who are you, like, talking about Haiti? Like,
don't worry about it. Like,
but
they have their own opinion, and we appreciate you. And definitely, we had a great time with you, Christina.
So I have a mentor. Her name is Dr. Solange's Vivens. And this is one of her books that I will recommend, which is A Girl Can Move Mountain. And she tells about her story from coming from Haiti all the way to now, where she ran a healthcare operation successfully. It is a businesswoman and a connector. And in being a friend and a mentor of her, she says, it's not how you begin. It's never about the beginning, but it's how you're gonna finish. It's always about the end. And so with all that being said, I hope through my story, despite all, and that's something I'm also learning too, that despite all that happened, I still am, there's still a chance. I'm still worthy. There's still a way for me to become the Christina that I said that I want to be, and a force to be reckoned with. And like I said, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. So
we need to get you back, all right? So make sure we get you back soon.
Yes, you will definitely hear more about that, but it will definitely ties into my passion for my culture, food, and just bringing people together. So be on the lookout for that. And again, I appreciate the opportunity for any young ladies. If you want to connect with me, LinkedIn, Christina Arecy. And for any young ladies, choose yourself. Choose yourself always, and never give up. Resilience is sometimes can be, you just have to work through it.
Yeah.
And that will be everything that I said.
Wow.
No.
Thank you, Christina. This is Eddy Dacius with Divine Purpose Podcast. We have Christina Arecy today. She really did a great job talking about her passion and her upbringing, and we definitely would like to have her back soon. And definitely, we had a great time, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, and we'll definitely be telling my friends as well.
Definitely. Thank you. Appreciate it.